Hi, I'm Claire Winterheimer, and I am the Experience Manager at EVPL McCullough Library, and I love comic books. It's February, and we are celebrating Black History Month here at the library, so with that in mind, I wanted to share some of my favorite comics and graphic novels by Black creators featuring Black characters. Now, all the titles that I'm going to share with you today are available using our digital resource Hoopla with your library card. So let's dive into those comics. First on the list is the action fantasy series Excellence. Published in 2019, this creator-owned series from Image's Skybound Entertainment brought writer Brandon Thomas and artist Kari Randolph together for a series that would and is still met with critical acclaim. Excellence follows Spencer Dale, a young man who was born and raised in a world of magic. His father is a member of the 𝐂𝐧𝐬𝐻, a secret society of black magic users that are ordered by their unseen masters to use their incredible abilities to better the world and the lives around them, but never for themselves. Spencer is expected to follow in his father's footsteps, but he's unable to look past the broken system of inequality that he, his father, and the other members of the 𝐂𝐧𝐬𝐻 are so deeply bound to. So, Spencer decides to forge his own path and lead a more proactive effort towards improvement and excellence for all. In this series made entirely by creators of color, Thomas and Randolph present a mesmerizing narrative that weaves generational conflict with magic and blends the creators' pop culture influences with social commentary. Next up, we have Kickstarter-funded, creator-owned comic Bingo Love, published in 2018 and written by T. Franklin and illustrated by Jen St. Ange. T. Franklin is a black, queer, disabled, autistic, award-winning comic writer and public speaker. Published by the third largest comics publisher in the U.S., Franklin was Image Comics' first black, queer, disabled woman writer and is well known for her best-selling queer romance comic novella, Bingo Love. Bingo Love is a queer love story that spans over 60 years. It tells the story of two women, Hazel and Mari, that fall in love as teenagers but are forced apart by their families and the prejudices of the time. After marrying young men and building families of their own, the two women reunite decades later, in their 60s, at a church bingo hall. Upon realizing they still have deep feelings for each other, they rekindle their romance. While this is a story about love, it's also just as much a story about strength, courage, and resilience. Also noteworthy is what this comic does that others have not, and that's present senior citizens as the main characters, and their lives as the driving force of the comic's story. This is so rarely seen in comics, so Bingo Love and its focus on queer senior citizen women of color truly stands out. Next up is the 2012 Prince of Cats by Ronald Wimberly. In this modern, urban retelling of Shakespeare's tragic romance, Romeo and Juliet, Tybalt Capulet, Juliet's first cousin, drives the narrative of the story as he ventures through 80s-era New York City with a samurai sword and his Capulet crew, battling nightly with the detestable Montagues. CBR, or comicbookresources.com, put it best when they described Prince of Cats as an 80s music scene-driven modernization that blends everything from hip-hop and the late stages of disco to the burgeoning rise of punk rock and new wave, a hip take on the classic Shakespeare story of warring families and star-crossed lovers. Creator Ronald Wimberly created a work that is still being talked about, shared, and read 10 years later, and is truly a testament to his unique and memorable storytelling and artwork that energizes each page. A screen adaptation of Prince of Cats is currently in the works, bringing together writer Selwyn Sifu-Hines and legendary filmmaker Spike Jonze. Next on the list is Bitterroot. Published by Image Comics in 2018, this series brought together Black creators David F. Walker, Sanford Greene, and Chuck Brown. Bitterroot is a steampunk alternate history of the Harlem Renaissance that features a monster-hunting family ripped apart at the seams by long-held grudges and deep differences. An outbreak of an evil virus that turns infected people into racist monsters has hit Harlem, and the Sangria family of monster hunters must settle their differences and make amends if they hope to save the people of New York, themselves, and humanity at large from this growing threat. While a world of monsters and monster hunters set against the backdrop of the Harlem Renaissance is an undeniable draw to this series, it's really the creators' handling of big questions regarding family, tradition, hate, retaliation, contrasting ideals, and racism that make this series shine. And to all those who decide to check out this series, or for those who have already jumped into the world of Bitterroot, this series now has a screen adaptation in the works. Currently in pre-production, this series is set to be produced by sisters Regina and Raina King and directed by Regina, so be on the lookout for that. Last on the list is a title from writer L.L. McKinney and artist Robin Smith. It's their 2021 DC middle grade graphic novel, Nubia Real One. For those of you who might not know, Nubia is a popular character from the DC universe that has had various iterations throughout Wonder Woman comics, but she is most well known as Wonder Woman's sister. In McKinney and Smith's story, Nubia is a teenage girl who is struggling to find her place in a hero society that has no problem telling her she's not a hero. After showing Amazon-like strength as a baby and growing into a young teen with superhero abilities, trying to juggle all the awkward and uncomfortable parts of being a teen with all that other stuff is obviously a challenge. But when Nubia's best friend Keisha is targeted and threatened by an entitled young man, Nubia is willing to risk everything to protect her friend. This is a wonderful graphic novel in the superhero genre that showcases truly endearing characters and a story that brings focus to the subjects of equality, identity, and young adulthood.